hasn't been dealt with in a way that gives communities confidence to actually just get about the normal business. And, you know, like you quite rightfully mentioned, people were coming from outside of Southport to attack a community that had nothing to do with anything that happened. So we need to sort of build those bridges in communities that actually, you know, you can't fight fear with by creating more fear. You know,
came straight to
absolutely, they did.
Yeah,
They were
helped tidy up
rebuilding.
the loss,
Absolutely. The next day they were there. They were rebuilding. They were building. No one asked them. They just were there for their community. And I think that is one of the great responses that we saw out of all of this. But a lot more needs to be done to give communities that confidence back that actually misinformation needs to be tackled, that, you know, neighbours need to stand together and communities really need to come together. You know, diversity is a strength. It's not something that is to be feared, and actually we need to unite more in the aftermath of it.
So bear with me, because we've got a live blog up and running, skynews.com. We're not allowed inside the courtroom with cameras until sentencing, so my colleagues are inside giving us the detail of what's happening. And I've just got to warn you, what I'm about to relay to you is really distressing, as you would expect from this case. This is the prosecutor, Deanna Here Casey, who's continuing to describe the attack back in July. She says businessman John Hayes, who has an office building in the Heart Space, approached Rudy Cabana, who swiped with a knife as he tried to grab hold of the weapon. Hayes was stabbed in the leg and fell to the ground, shouting for help. The court goes on to hear that window cleaners who were driving past saw the class instructor, Leanne Lucas, covered in blood, shouting, "Someone's stabbing the kids." One went into the building but retreated when he saw Rudy Cabana at the top of the stairs holding a knife. At the top of the stairs, they found the attacker standing over the body of BB King, holding a kitchen knife. One of the window cleaners picked her up and carried her out of the building, screaming at the extent of her injuries. The court hears that police arrived at the scene to find people in a state of panic. Oh, just take a breath after that. Right, Tywin, sorry, it's just so distressing, isn't it? Look, we're here for those girls and the families, so try not to get upset, because it's such an important day for them. And this is horror that came to their door. And I've asked this question before the community. How do you recover from that?
It's a really hard question to answer, because actually we can't even imagine the unspeakable sort of lives that the families are going through. There is no recovery from what they went through, and all we can do is try and support them in the best way we can. And I think as long as there's some accountability, I think that will go a long way. I think that there's going to be an inquiry now. I think that will help go some way.
That's the thing. I know a lot of those involved have asked for privacy. They want this to be dealt with, and they want to move on with their lives. But what happened in Southport has a ripple effect across the country in terms of, you know, Rudy Cabana was known to authorities. Why did he slip through the net? This whole definition of terrorism. There are larger questions to be answered. What would you like to see from a public inquiry? Because once again, Southport will be put in the spotlight.
It will. I want to see the truth come out. I want to see what the failures were, and I want to see what actual action is going to be taken in response to making sure that a tragedy like this and this extreme violence will be addressed, especially when all of the flags were there, and it wasn't just one authority, it was several authorities that raised the flags, and all of them failed to prevent this most violent, most heinous crime from taking place. So I think communities want the truth. We want to know the truth. We want to know why the failings were so big, and how he was allowed to slip through the net, and what is actually going to happen. Now, if definitions need to be broadened, then that's just talk, really. We need actual palpable action to take place, and we need those building blocks to be put in sort of sooner rather than later. And that's the only way that the families can have some semblance of peace, that actually what happened to them will never happen again. And we are, unfortunately, we have this conversation time and time again after a tragedy happens and another tragedy happens, and there seems to be not enough being done to deal with the root causes of these problems. So we need to believe that the root causes will be dealt with, and it needs to be open and honest. And I think that's what we need to try and get into.
Hey, Tariq Islam, really good note to end on there. A message of positivity in terms of, this is a community rebuilding, and that can start after today. This is the worst of days for them. That's Tariq Islam, their Chief Executive of Liverpool Muslim Council. Thank you so much. Wasps heard in court, as one clip shows, Rudy Cabana dragging a girl back inside the building before she staggers out and collapses. Our crime correspondent Martin Grant is here with me, and this is really hard to hear.
Yeah, it's we knew it was going to be grim stuff. I mean, it's difficult for us to read what's being said in court. Imagine what
He knew everything, he went outside,
that's the latest. This is all happening.
when he finished, he seen from inside and
from
outside.
our colleagues who are sitting in the court.
Yeah. So maybe I'll go to a shop BNQ or somewhere and then get maybe a half a dozen or 1 dozen new ones, and then I'll use only the screwdriver. Manually, I'll do it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Felix. Thank you.
anybody smoke?